this is like the basis of pharmacology. Almost every other thing you'll be talking about would one way or the other be pharmacokinetics and or pharmacodynamics. So later on, we won't have to say that this is pharmacokinetics, but by the time you consider the concepts that is being discussed, you know those things are they pertain to pharmacokinetics. Like in layman terms, we used to say that pharmacokinetics pertains to what the body does to the drug. We eat food. If I ate something, my body must do something to the food. Then, for the food to benefit me, the food must also do something to my body. So, if the body says that it doesn't want food, the food is of no use. You have just wasted energy to cook and eat a nice meal. So we expect that for the fact that we can eat, you cook. Then when you cook the feces that come out does not look like the food again. But we can do all of that. Our body must be able to use it, and the food must also provide benefits to the body. So the same thing applies to this. When we come to this, pharmacokinetics talks about what the body, what the body does to, let's say, drugs, pharmacodynamics, what drugs do to the body. So most times these two would go hand in hand. Although in an exam, you cannot be expected to just define it as this. This is just loose, the layman definition. With this one, it's even -1/10, like this. Because you just want to understand, okay, basically, so any concept you're looking at, if it is the body that is doing some things to maybe a chemical agent, you could say that is what part of pharmacokinetics. If what you're looking at is the drug affecting the body, you will easily say this should be pharmacodynamics. Do you understand? So in most institutions, this could be different departments on their own, not just topics. So it could be a whole department. Even at master's level, pharmacokinetics is a course on its own. Not part of pharmacology, is a course under pharmacology. Even for most of in schools, it's a course. Because it's so wide. So we talk about, so under pharmacokinetics, most of the things we talk about would fall under this acronym.
Absorption,
Absorption, distribution, metabolism. So most, sometimes you say elimination or excretion. Because in a way, they are a bit different. So almost everything we talk about, we talk about this: absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. But before you have absorption, there has to be a drug, right? Because we are dealing with drugs, I'm not dealing with food. So before absorption will start, there must be an introduction of a drug. Exactly. Now that we have a drug, holding a drug is not the problem. Just like there is this thing you see with people. They can say, just like I can say that no drinking in my class, no drinking, right? And I can be holding this thing. I'm showing you. This is my Coke. You cannot penalize because I've not drank it. Do you get it? So it's what some people do. Like once they see, for those that smoke, those guys that smoke, so once they get to the airport, they're not allowed to smoke. The guy just brings out a cigarette, puts it in the mouth, and hold a lighter. So you can go and say, no smoking here. He will tell you, it's just a cigarette. No, it's just a cigarette. Until he lights it and begins to, it's just a cigarette or like anything in his mouth. So just for the fact that we have a drug, doesn't mean that anything will happen. So the drug must be introduced into the body via a route of administration. So it is a route of administration that brings the drug into the body. Until the drug enters the body, none of this would happen. So we need the drug, we need the routes of administration, right? Before we have absorption, distribution, metabolism, and elimination of excretion. So everything under pharmacokinetics will be discussed under this broad heading. Exactly. Now, the other side of this would be pharmacodynamics. So we cannot talk about pharmacodynamics if pharmacokinetic processes have not started. Do you understand? The drug outside my body, somebody has malaria, and the person is holding anti-malaria. There is no Bluetooth connection or infrared to make it so. The drug must be in the body by any route. So it means that we will not have any. We'll not be able to discuss pharmacodynamics if pharmacokinetics has not started. The drug must have been introduced into the body. So introducing the drug via a route of administration must come before absorption. So until the drug is absorbed, you only will not be able to talk about what the pharmacodynamic profile or activity of that drug. Do you understand it? So now, for pharmacodynamics, what would we be talking about under pharmacodynamics? We talk about drug interactions with the body, and the effects produced. Because that is what the drug will do to the body. The drug is acting on the body to produce some type of effects, different type of effects. Then, also, we might also look at drug interactions. How one drug affects the functioning of another drug. To talk about either of these two here, we must look at receptor concepts. And in the last class, during the introductory class under history, I said the word receptor is more synonymous to physiology. That although we use it in pharmacology, the more specific word here will be drug target. Drug target. Because the drug must have a target, must bind to produce a particular effect. Now, the other things around this area, we'll be talking about, under this, we'll look at the word affinity, we'll look at potency, we'll look at efficacy, these are major words we'll look at, which we'll be able to differentiate. Then, under here too, we'll talk about agonists, and antagonists. And there are different types, because we want to look at different types of agonists and antagonists. So when you say, once we say, okay, this is an agonist, this is an antagonist, this is, so I said there are different types of agonists, just like we have different types of antagonists. So how do I look at a drug and be able to say, okay, maybe this drug behaves like an agonist, or this drug is an antagonist and that particular receptor? Do you understand? So we'll look at the channels, we'll look at those ones. What other key concepts are we going to look at here? Well, there will still be other things we'll talk about. Then maybe, yes, we'll look at how, now, there's this, maybe some of you would have talked about this. How do I take a drug now? How do I take paracetamol? And paracetamol blocks pain somewhere in my body. How does it happen? How does it happen? How do I take anti-malaria? How does it, after a while, how does it cure me of what? Malaria. So, in between the process of what? Using the drugs and then producing an effect, there are things that happen in the body at the cellular level. At the cellular level. That we will talk about under signaling. Call it signaling. Signaling. So things are this. And under here, absorption. Yeah, we'll talk about transport. How are drugs transported? Diffusion, passive diffusion, active transport. So I know you remember diffusion, passive diffusion, active transport. So we have the endocytosis. Then I think we have one more, 4 of those there. So we'll look at factors that will affect factors affecting all of these. Then around here too, we'll talk about first pass effect. Have you heard of this one before? Or metabolism. First pass effect of metabolism and things like this. So that I said, well, I'm just highlighting now, and the board is almost full. So now it's equal for you now for someone to ask you what is pharmacokinetics, and the only thing you tell the person is that what pharmacokinetics talks about what the body does to the drug. And they will look at it and say, okay, what else? Because that's not it. You understand? So everything that happens, you can just say loosely what the body does to the drugs. And for the other part, what the drugs do to the body. So around this area, when we define drug already, we have to discuss routes or routes of administration. Why should we use a particular route of administration? Why can we not use another route of administration? So it means that there will be a best route and there might be a better route. So for example, if I have let's say I have a pain here around my wrist and it's swollen. Somebody fell down, you twisted your wrist, swollen. Now, what will most of you do? Most of you, when they say you just go and buy your pain reliever, right? You buy. So, but the point is, if you understand the drug. How's that drug? What the drug does? Will it be better for me to use the drug or get a topical cream and just apply it? Is diclofenac you probably use? I can also apply diclofenac cream here. So these are some of the things that help you to judge or to come to you like this is what we should do. This is the best approach. You understand that? You just say, okay, just go and do a drug. Now, another case is maybe somebody is sick and the person is already vomiting. The person has malaria. At least everybody should know that once the person starts vomiting, you likely will not be able to give us oral drugs again. And it's time to find a way to stop the person from vomiting. So, do you start with injections or you want to go through the rectal route? So these are some of the things we discuss under absorption. Absorption is like, because absorption is like, we want the drug. The drug is already in the body. You get it now? So we are saying that from where the drug is in your stomach or your intestine, we want to take it from there into the bloodstream, into the intracellular fluid that it can now move around the body. And I don't know if I've mentioned here that there's something called BBB, the blood-brain barrier. That the blood-brain barrier is like is around the brain, somewhere in the CNS. It's one of the mechanisms that ensures that everything, or most of the things in your blood, do not enter your brain. Maybe the reason why most of us have not run, you have seen normal, you have not run mad. Because if everything that comes into your blood goes into your brain, most people will be like, most persons will be mad already. So, but one of the things that can easily cross that BBB is alcohol. So it's easy that for you that when somebody you say someone drinks alcohol and within minutes or hours the person is already drowsy, already talking as if the person is already breathing as if like this hypnosis that comes with drinking alcohol or they can now talk loosely. So that means that the connection between what the person drank and how that thing affects how the person can process information, because some things you not do normally. When you are drunk, is there how you see boldness to do it? Or you cannot talk. So like maybe you want to say, I want to ask a girl and you cannot do it, not go and drink. Or you feel like you want to forget your sorrows, right? You go to the beer bar, you drink like 1 crate of beer. You forget for like 10 hours. By the time you wake up, you know like your problems are still there. You just forgot the hotel and because you drank. Right? So there are things that you take that can easily cross into the brain and affect how it functions. There are things that don't cross the brain normally. There are things that they will only cross when there is an infection. So more often you hear the word blood-brain barrier. So most of the body tissue and organs have a barrier, like a sieve, that anything that must come in must pass through that. So if you can pass through, the body does not discriminate. So that it acts like it leaves a sieve. If you can pass through it, you are welcome. If you cannot pass through it, stay outside. So once those things cannot pass through, they must now find another way of entering. So that's the reason that we talk about what? Transport. If you cannot go in by passive diffusion, can this come in by active transport or facilitated diffusion? Facilitated diffusion, or does it need somebody to just what you was a bit, someone to just hide from here and put it inside? So there are things to talk about. So we just need to look at all those factors. It's going to be something that's so wide. So for our introduction, I will just be running through it because by the time I cannot be explaining and writing it together. It will be too slow for us to come that way. So what I have to do is I will begin to explain. So what you can do is that you can just something ahead of writing the notes.